Honourable Speaker, the Honourable Prime Minister, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Members of Parliament, I acknowledge the presence of the students from Yatsen in the public gallery and viewers who are watching through television broadcast live from their comfort zones. Honourable Speaker, before I move on to my statement, allow me once more to congratulate our own Fiji schoolboys under 18 team on their second victory against the Australian schoolboys, defeating them by 34 points to 25 yesterday afternoon. Sir, I also take this opportunity to wish our bidding team that will be in Palau this week all the very best. The team is ably led by PS Ratumeli Naduba and Fesanok, and they will be making our final presentations for 2031 Pacific Games bid. Honourable Speaker, I rise today to address an ongoing matter that has drawn significant public attention, the situation involving the Fiji Rugby Union and players. As a nation with deep-rooted pride in our rugby heritage, it is essential that we remain transparent and proactive in handling any challenges that may affect our national sport and its representatives. On the World Cup preparation, Honourable Speaker, at the request of the Minister of Justice, the trustees voluntarily took responsibility of Fiji Rugby in May 2023, 4 months prior to the World Cup. And that time, the biggest priority was in finding the funding to get our flying Fijians into camp, to train, and then to play in the World Cup and return to their clubs. The only funding in place at that time was from government for a grant of $2.5 million for the preparation and participation. After discussion with Fiji Water, through the Office of the Prime Minister, he arranged to assist with a sponsorship of $3.8 million. The total budget was $10 million. Honourable Speaker, when the World Cup team came together in Taveuni and discussed and negotiated their contracts for the World Cup campaign, the then Fiji Rugby Interim Administrator advised that it was agreed that each flying Fijian squad member, 33 players in total, would receive a sign-on fee of $30,000 and an allowance of $500 per day from 1st July to 15th October 2023. That's around 107 days. In fact, the players had asked for $600 per day, and a few players were in camp earlier, from around 1st July. With government backing and after a visit from the Honourable Prime Minister, bonuses were offered at the time of $30,000 for winning the quarterfinal, $40,000 for winning the semi-final, and $50,000 for winning the final. The bonuses were therefore based on the team's achievements and promise for after the World Cup. Honourable Speaker, in addition to the agreed payments, Fiji Rugby, Fiji Government and the World Rugby paid all expenses for the flying Fijians for the preparation and for the participation in the 2023 Rugby World Cup. All travel to, from and during camp, international air travel, all accommodation and meals, all playing and training gear, and incidentals also. This had also been budgeted for by Fiji Rugby, World Rugby, and government. On former captain's claims, Honourable Speaker, the difficulty, of course, is in the former captain's original statement where he stated that issues existed between Rugby House and the players going back 10 years. Questions had been raised on unpaid money as far back as 1987 and 2007 and 2019. But the current trustees have only been there a year, and regrettably, it will be a challenge to investigate every claim if records are not available. Honourable Speaker, there appears to have been a lot of frustration among the players, and sadly, the trustees currently at the Rugby House are taking the brunt of it. They have reached out to the players, met with several of them, and they have heeded. On other players' comments, Honourable Speaker, in various comments from the players, there has been a distinct theme of misinformation, and a lot of issues raised are simply not factual. Honourable Speaker, players' concerns raised on what happened to the £600,000, $1.7 million Fijian dollars that World Rugby awarded for reaching the quarter-finals was very quickly answered by World Rugby in releases to the media advising that there was no prize money awarded for reaching the quarter-finals of the World Cup. Honourable Speaker, further questions on where the prize money for the Fiji men's sevens team who competed at a tournament in Samoa last year are reported 25,000. It was noted that the coach of the Fiji sevens team had told the Samoa organisers that they could keep the prize money. It was also noted that all the players were advised of this. Upon this coming to the notice of the trustees requested the Samoa organisers to give the prize money to FRU. Internally, the trustees had agreed that the prize money would be shared between the players and the Samoa organisers. Unfortunately, Samoa could not honour that payment, and the cheque received at that time was returned as there was no funds in the Samoans' bank account. On the coaches, Honourable Speaker, statements that the 15th coach hadn't been paid and that even the current coach hadn't been paid for some months has been refuted by the coaches and the coaches concerned, as coaches have been paid by the Fiji National Sports Commission through the government grant for international qualified coaches. Allegations of corruption. Honourable Speaker, initially the issue of corruption raised against FRU has not been proven factual, as the trustees requested evidence with a promise to pass it on to FICAC or to the police for investigation, and no team member has been able to provide any information on instances of corruption. In responding to the former captain's initial comments, the trustees expressed concern on the players' issues, but took the accusation of corruption very seriously. Issues prior to the quarter-final. Regrettably, 3 days before the quarter-final, the team manager arranged a Zoom meeting between the former captain, some team members, and the Fiji Rugby Interim Administrator at that time. Honourable Speaker, in that meeting, the former captain and some players demanded payment of bonuses prior to the quarter-final, and they threatened Fiji Rugby that they would not play the quarter-final match unless the bonuses were paid first. This was the first time that the trustees were made aware that the players differed with the interim administrator on the timing of the bonus payment. The trustees took this threat seriously because of the serious implications and consequences on Fiji. In addition, the pressure on Fiji Rugby was enormous, particularly as there would be serious implications on funding if government did not agree to the bonus. We had no option, sir, but to approach the Prime Minister to seek his advice and concurrence on the course of action. Government would have to pay the bonus much earlier than planned. Honourable Speaker, an undertaking was given to the players by the Prime Minister's office that they would be paid the quarter-final bonus they demanded immediately after the quarters. Because of government's processes, which was appreciated by Fiji Rugby, and the risk that the bonus would not be paid when demanded, the trustees had to seek an overdraft facility for the immediate payment. Government then reimbursed FRU later, well after the team returned. Honourable Speaker, Fiji Rugby could not and will never risk a boycott of any match by a Fiji Rugby team, let alone a quarter-final of the 2023 Rugby World Cup. The consequence of such a boycott would likely have been Fiji players and Fiji Rugby being expelled from participating in the World Rugby matches. The former captain and the senior players were aware of this, but unfortunately still proceeded with their demands. On the payments, Honourable Speaker, I wish to highlight that the bonus was not only promised but was paid. The sign-on fee of $30,000 has been paid. The $500 daily allowance has been paid. Fiji Rugby has already stated that a few payments were late due to regulatory processes that had to be complied with. Honourable Speaker, all of payments due are part of the full review being undertaken as I speak. Honourable Speaker, only last week the CEO of the Ndrua confirmed that all the Ndrua players were also receiving their full paid Ndrua salary as their time with the Flying Fijians was seen as national duty. Available resources. The Flying Fijians are a nationally proud group, most of whom play for national pride when they are called up to do so for family and country. Fiji Rugby and their supporters also want the team to be fairly compensated for their efforts. Honourable Speaker, sports has become very expensive, and Fiji does not have the resources of Australia, New Zealand, England, France or Japan, where a number of our players are on contracts. Honourable Speaker, currently Fiji Rugby's national teams, player development and welfare, as well as our domestic competition, cost Fiji Rugby approximately $30 million per annum, and that depends on a few generous sponsors, the Fiji government, and a grant from World Rugby. On trustees and progress, Honourable Speaker, when the trustees were appointed last year, Fiji Rugby was in trouble, as reported earlier. It had substantial debts owing over $6.8 million and assets of only $3 million. In the trustees' report, they have cleared the majority of their debt. Honourable Speaker, the trustees have restructured the operations, and after meetings with every union, the new structure has been accepted, and yes, a new professional business model under a company limited by guarantee was approved by all the unions to take over the operations of rugby in Fiji. The company, in its Articles of Association and the Constitution, were approved by all of the unions at the recent special general meeting. These documents have been approved by World Rugby and FESANOC, which represents the Olympic Committee in Fiji. Last week, in the first round of voting by the union's Special Nominations Committee was elected. This professional committee will now be responsible to vet and approve all nominations for the new board of directors to be elected at the AGM on 9th November 2024. The players have got their wish thanks to the unions themselves, electing to be a professional business. Trustees and unions, by restructuring and approving the new constitution and operations, have satisfied the concerns of World Rugby. We have now readmitted Fiji Rugby to the World Rugby Council, and only last week the CEO of Fiji Rugby was in Dublin at World Rugby headquarters representing Fiji at meetings held. Demand by World Rugby. Honourable Speaker, one change that was demanded by both World Rugby and the International Olympic Organization was that all voting members of any board of a national sports organization had to be elected by the members of that sport. And as such, this meant that the previous mandated position given to the Prime Minister's board nominee could not be appointed to Fiji Rugby Board. However, there is a course of action that can be taken by the directors to invite a government representative to sit on the board. If any member of Parliament wishes to sit on the National Sports Board, they can, but they must be elected. The Honourable Minister for Women, Children and Social Protection is a current member of Fiji Rugby Union Board. Acquisitions, investigation and audit. Honourable Speaker, the trustees of Fiji Rugby have accepted that the issues and accusations made by the players must be addressed, and as such have written and been in contact with them. The trustees have held meetings with players and coaches. They have promised to investigate the players' claims and as such engage Ioana Niveli and Company Chartered Accountants to review each of the 43 players' contracts, payment disbursements, as well as the timing of payments. Honourable Speaker, this exercise is currently in progress, and the first report should be received later this week. Honourable Speaker, regarding the 43 players engaged in 2023, all have been given a schedule of payments that disclose the funds disbursed to their respective bank accounts during the period 1st July 2023 to 15th October 2023, and the players have been requested to confirm and cross-check with their bank to confirm that the payments have been deposited into their respective accounts. Once these player disbursements have been addressed and the final report from Ioana Niveli and Company Chartered Accountants has been received, the trustees will publicly release the findings of the review. Any shortfalls in payment to any player during the period mentioned, the trustees are committed to settle them. In conclusion, Honourable Speaker, I must commend the trustees of Fiji Rugby for the work they do. They were appointed to their business and professional experience and involvement in rugby and sports. They should be thanked for all they have achieved. Not one of them has received any remuneration for the over 80 meetings they have held in the last 14 months, all in an effort to get rugby on the right track. Honourable Speaker, rugby is more than just a sport in Fiji. It is a symbol of our national unity and strength. While challenges like these are unfortunate, I remain confident that with the collaborative efforts of all stakeholders, we will resolve these matters promptly and continue to build a strong, unified rugby community. I look forward to meeting with the trustees once they receive Niveli and company's report, so as we can answer and address everything with honesty and sincerity. The people of Fiji require this, and our rugby players deserve the truth which they shall get. I thank you, sir.